Hey guys, what's up? This is the second daily check-in of the Joy in the Journey challenge. I'm here with my little friend Zizou to share with you some thoughts that I was having this morning about my creative journey, and maybe something will be relevant to you in your journey as well. So I thought I'd share them here. So this is something that was sparked by a conversation I had yesterday with a friend of mine. And it's kind of revolving around the question of like, what stories are you telling yourself? So by that, what I mean is like, do you ever hear yourself saying or thinking things like, I wish I could draw, but I'm just not artistically inclined? Or I wish I could play the piano, but I'm just not musically inclined. Or maybe it's something like, I wish I could speak Spanish fluently, but language just isn't my thing. Or I'm just not a math person. I'm just not a numbers person. That's actually one of mine. So notice these, and let's just be honest with ourselves and recognize these for what they actually are. These are not facts. These are beliefs, right? A fact is something that everyone would agree on. A belief is by nature somewhat subjective. As convinced as we might be about some of these beliefs, Zizou's trying to get more involved. In the end, they are stories, right? They're stories that we tell ourselves. So, hang on one second. Let me just, why did you hang out back there, buddy? Okay, so we all have these stories, right? And a lot of times they're based on some sort of experience in our past. And it's really interesting. I've read about this quite a bit. And it turns out that people tend to look for evidence without even knowing it. We tend to look for evidence that proves our story right, that sort of corroborates or confirms the beliefs that we have about ourselves. So like if you think that you're not good at Spanish, then chances are you'll find ways to prove that without even realizing that you're doing it. But the reality is that we tend to behave in ways that correspond with our self-image. Sometimes we may have a story that sounds something like this. Painting just isn't my thing. Or math just isn't my thing. Right? Or whatever it is. I don't really like that. And maybe that's true. Maybe that is true for you. But maybe, that's also just a story that you're telling yourself to protect yourself from trying, from putting in the effort to find out if maybe you do actually like that thing, but you just have yourself convinced that you don't because maybe you tried it before a little bit and it was hard, or you came up against some resistance, right? So, hang on, where was I going with this? Right. So I think sometimes we delude ourselves, and I'm totally speaking for myself too, and in a minute I'll tell you some of my stories. I think that we can fall into the trap of deluding ourselves into thinking that like anyone who's an expert in any field was probably like a child prodigy, or they were just naturally gifted. And of course, that may be the case, and that is the case with some experts. But we also have to recognize that there is a lot of skill and practice involved, or rather, there's a lot of practice involved in developing the skill that leads to, the point of being an expert in something. So, for example, with Spanish, I wasn't like naturally gifted at Spanish. It didn't come super easily to me. I remember feeling like it was really, really hard, especially getting to the point of like communicating orally with ease. So I wouldn't call myself a prodigy in that by any means, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I did really like Spanish, and I was really drawn by the idea of being, even just like the thought of someday becoming fluent in Spanish. That was really appealing to me. So that motivated me to practice, to put in a lot of time and energy and effort into honing that skill, into developing my Spanish abilities. And that's what got me to the point of being fluent in Spanish. So it didn't happen like that. Obviously, it took years, and it took a lot of practice. But the thing that I've learned from my journey in the foreign language, my journey to fluency in Spanish, is that I really enjoyed the process. I embraced the journey. I enjoyed all of the tiny victories, those little moments where you're like, wow, I just conjugated that verb on the fly. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that I knew that word, and it just came out of my mouth. So that kept me going. That kind of gave me the motivational fuel to keep showing up and keep putting in the time and energy for it. So that's what I learned from my journey with Spanish. And now I'm thinking about how I can apply that knowledge, that self-awareness, to my journey, kind of returning to my art practice, and how that might be a benefit for you. So this morning I was thinking about that, and I was like realizing, I was thinking about this idea of like, what stories are we telling ourselves? And I realized that I might have a story that involves painting. That didn't come out right. Okay, so here's the thing. When I was a kid, I loved painting. Like, I would just do that for fun. Painting and drawing was like one of my favorite hobbies, activities. Oh, Zizou, gonna make a jump here. Then I had to take a painting course in college as part of my art major, just beginning painting, one semester of it. And I remember that was like I got one of the, I think it was like the lowest grade that I got in college. I think it was like a B+ or something, but I was really not pleased with that grade. And I think I let that get to me. I remember feeling kind of resentful about it. And I remember that it was taught by a grad student who was kind of known for being a tough grader. But I really let that get to me. And I think I built up a lot of resentment about it. And then, without even knowing it, I like looking back now and realizing, I think that sort of caused me to develop the story of, I just don't really like painting. Like, that's not my thing. That's not my go-to medium for artistic production. So I focused on my concentration in college was printmaking, which is like, if you've never heard of that, it's like etching, lithography, woodcut, silkscreen, kind of all of those processes is what printmaking is. So anyway, I realized that I have a little story about painting that probably has to do with that grade that I got in that one course in college. And thinking about it, I have not painted since that course. And that was like in, I don't know, 2006, maybe 2005, whatever. It was a long time ago. So here I am 15 years later. And the other day I was talking to another friend of mine, who really likes to paint, and she was buying some canvases and getting into painting. And I was like, I kind of want to paint too. I haven't done it in a really long time. And so, anyway, so I think I had this story around painting, and it's blocked me, and I'm ready to overcome that. I'm ready to test the waters and see if maybe I don't like painting, but maybe I do. And maybe I was just, kind of limiting myself in order to protect myself. So I'm putting that out there for you. I have a number of other stories. Some of them I've broken through and dismantled over the years, and some of them I still cling to, like the story that I'm just not good with numbers. I have another one that I am not an organized person, even though I've had students who disagree, who tell me I'm like one of their most organized professors, and I still don't believe them. And then another one that I am directionally impaired, meaning like I'm not good at navigating, which I am really, really committed to that story. But anyway, recognizing these for what they are not facts, they are beliefs. And sometimes it's worth testing a belief to see if it really is true. And as convinced as you may be about one of those beliefs that you hold, whether it's I'm not good at Spanish, or I don't know, like I'm not musically inclined. But if there's something in you that is calling you to experiment in that thing, then maybe it's worth listening to. Like me with painting. If you're maybe you're required to take a foreign language for college. And if you go into it with that belief that I hate Spanish or French or whatever language you're taking, or I'm no good at languages, then think about how that's most likely going to play out in the course for you. Remember what I said, human beings tend to behave in ways that confirm or validate or, support the image that we have of ourselves. This has been studied. This is not just me hypothesizing. It's written about in a number of books that I've read. It's talked about by a lot of experts. So let's just consider maybe some of these beliefs are just stories that we're telling ourselves. And let's just think about those. Let's see if we can notice them as we move along in this journey. So maybe we ask ourselves, what if these aren't entirely true? What if I could learn to do fill in the blank? Or what if I could learn to enjoy playing the guitar, right? We're always going to have some sort of discomfort in the learning process. Things aren't supposed to be easy. Most things worth doing in life aren't easy. Usually it's going to challenge us to get outside of our comfort zone. I guarantee you when I go to paint later today, and by the way, I set up my easel, I have a blank canvas, which is scary and exciting at the same time. Such a metaphor there as well. We'll talk about that more at some point, I'm sure. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I know it's going to be uncomfortable because it's a skill that I haven't used in a while. I didn't really put a whole lot into, honing and developing, even when I did take that course. And so I'm just going to go at it with a spirit of courage, which is another one of the areas that we're working with. Remember, self-awareness, courage, motivation, resilience, and what's the fifth one? What am I missing? Consistency, right? And all of those are so relevant to this conversation about, the beliefs that we have about ourselves that may be limiting us. So if we want to develop expertise in an area, we have to just acknowledge that it's going to require time, effort, and consistency. I'm going to take a breather. That was a lot. Let me take a drink of water here for a sec. So, okay, to wrap this up, I was thinking that maybe if any of this resonates with you, if you're willing to take on this challenge and explore your limits, explore the lies that you may be telling yourself. Did I just call you a liar? Maybe. We're all liars. We all lie to ourselves in so many ways. And you know what? Some of them are helpful and some of them can be hurtful or just limiting. So let's just bring awareness to that. Why don't you write in the comments if you notice any story that you may be telling yourself. Share that with the group. Where was I going? Oh, and if you maybe have like a friend or a teammate or a roommate or someone who you think might enjoy like joining you on this challenge, then share this with them, bring them along for the ride. Yeah, and we can do it together. We can look at it as teamwork, right? I'm challenging myself, and I'm here to support you in your journeys as well. So, okay, I think that's it. This was longer than I intended. Right. Okay, I will leave it at that. Wishing you a great rest of your day and weekend, and I will talk to you again very soon. Oh, wait, one last thing. In the last video, we talked about road trip snacks. And I told you in the next video, I would tell you mine, my go-to. Actually, I haven't had it in years, but I think I need to again. Combos. Do you guys know what combos are? Do they still sell this snack? I haven't seen them in years, but they're like so reminiscent of my childhood. When I was a kid, we used to go on like a road trip every summer to Florida, and we would always have combos for the drive. So I need to check and see if they still sell them anywhere. If you haven't watched that video, watch the previous video, and then in the comments, tell me what your favorite road trip snack is. Okay. Bye.